Okay. So, good afternoon. Nice to see you all here, colleagues. And my name is Kristaps Lesinskis, and I'm from Riga, from Latvia, BA School of Business and Finance. And today I will present the paper by me and by my colleagues, Professor Inese Mavlutova and Associate Professor Aivars Spilbergs, who are also Latvians from the same institution. So I will present the results, and the title actually of the paper is about the effectiveness of using a digital tool. There will be a particular digital tool in entrepreneurship education to increase entrepreneurial intention among Generation Z, business and non-business students. There is different from different programs. So I will start with topicality. There are a couple of issues why it can be considered topical. First of all, higher education institutions in general become more digitalized, and digitalization is entering the sector as all the sectors and our daily lives. But there are huge differences between higher education institutions and also different challenges regarding that. And also, of course, digitally based solutions, since this research is about the specific digital tool, it is gaining momentum now and becoming more and more popular. And Generation Z is the one which describes the members born in between 1995 to 2012, which are now entering the higher education sector and also choosing the career path. So that's why it can be considered interesting and topical also for us. So the aim of the research is to check whether some specific digital tool called Kabada can influence the entrepreneurial intention in the Generation Z if it is used in educational process, in particular when we are educating about the entrepreneurship. So there are several objectives related to literature review, of course, and analyzing some previous studies, and also it included the quasi-experiment which was made about less than a year ago, checking the effectiveness of the use of such a tool in the educational process in Generation Z. So, a couple of words about some literature review and theoretical background. So what we find now in the literature, related literature, is that entrepreneurship education is considered to be more and more important in the context of competitiveness of the societies, and in general, entrepreneurship as an occupation is very important, especially after the reducing role of supply-side economics theory in promotion of economic activities in different countries. So, in particular, during the last about 50 years, we see increasing number also of scientific publications in this field, and more interest about it. We see also what are the reasons behind the digitalization processes in higher education. It's related to in general change of the culture of education institutions, and also some increasing competencies of teachers and students in this field. Industry is coming up with specific expectations related to digitalization, and also the competition in education are the ones where you can find some competitive advantage, maybe from time to time, if you are better in this area. And of course, it's also related to cost savings and making the processes more sustainable in the higher education institutions. So we see also, as I said, the increasing number of different publications in databases regarding entrepreneurship education, impact on entrepreneurship intention. And well, it's mostly related and based to the theory of planned behavior by Itzhak Eisen, which is very popular and which is used in these studies because this theory says that there is a possible impact coming from education process on some intentions. In this case, on the entrepreneurial intentions of the people. But what is interesting and challenging is that still the effect, it might sound quite strange, but it is true that this effect of entrepreneurship education on an entrepreneurial intention still is under the question. Even though the most of the research is published say that there is some positive effect, there are also several researches and publications which are limiting that or doubting about the positive impact coming from education on entrepreneurial intention. So, and we can say that there is also still some research gap even in this field. So what we did was we formulated some hypotheses. There are many of them, well, but in general the idea for the hypothesis were that, okay, well, if we use such a specific tool in our digital tool in entrepreneurship education process, it can increase the entrepreneurial intention. And since we made a quasi-experiment with experimental groups and control groups, so the hypothesis goes for asserting that the increase in entrepreneurial intention in experimental groups where digital tool will be used will be bigger than on control groups, which are like having just a placebo effect with a classical approach of teaching entrepreneurship, in particular building a business plan. So, and several sub-hypotheses related to that also formulated. So, a couple of words about the digital tool I mentioned. It's called Kabata. It was constructed in the international EU-funded project where there were 5 countries participating, and we built the mathematical digital tool where everyone, and in particular students, can construct in an easy way their business plans for their business ideas, receiving different information and assistance from the tool. That is, you can go by clicking and setting up your business plan, not in the old style by writing something, specific chapters, but going through and clicking on specific predefined choices. So, to say in general the idea. So actually the center of that tool is building the business model on the basis of Osterwalder's business model canvas. But also the user is fed with some industry statistics, which is automatically transferred to the system and to the user from the Eurostat databases, and automatical risk analysis is offered to the user, and then finally also some calculations of financial projections are made for those who engage in business planning. So, what we did also to check how this tool works and whether it increases entrepreneurial intention, we made a quasi-experiment. It took place in the fall and winter of 2022, starting from September to January of 2023. And there were 808 surveys made during these workshops, which in total were 18, working with the students with this digital tool and also with control groups on the same topics, but without this digital tool. It took place in several countries, both in Eastern and Central European countries like Latvia, Lithuania, Czech Republic and Slovakia, and from the Southern European countries, in particular Portugal, Italy and Spain. And so, and of course there were some questionnaires before and after related to entrepreneurial intention, and we check the results. Well, this is a complicated table, but in general shows the distribution of participants of the experiment. As you can see, mostly they are 20 plus. That is what is Generation Z now, and they are currently students. Yes, so and they come from both business studies and non-business studies, as in entrepreneurship. As you can imagine, entrepreneurs come from different sectors. They can be doctors and forest maintenance or whatever. Yeah, so lawyers and so on. So we worked in this experiment with different students from both business and non-business. So, and of course we made different mathematical statistical testing of samples, and then also worked with different type of tests to validate or not our hypothesis, working with the results. And what were the outcomes, and what we found is that in general the hypothesis one, which said that working with a digital tool with the students in entrepreneurship education workshop with a tool will increase the entrepreneurial intention of these students, we asserted that it will, and it turned out to be true. So this hypothesis was supported. What is the most important outcome still is that we were able also to support the second hypothesis, which spoke about, let's say, net impact on or pure impact of these studies using a digital tool, where we saw that the increase in entrepreneurial intention is bigger when during the workshops you use this digital tool, if you compare it with where you do not use in workshops this tool, or simply go in the classical style of lecturing about how to write a business plan, etc. So when we use this tool, so the increase in intentions was bigger. So that's the most important outcome from the quasi-experiment that we made. And validated also through different statistical methods. So, and the conclusions, some coming from the theoretical side of the research, are that digitalization is rapidly entering education in general. This is clear, and also the research is growing in this area. Digitalization brings not only better results in the education, basic product of education, providing knowledge, competencies, but also is making institutions more sustainable and achieves some broader societal goals. In the literature, we find that there are still some doubts about the impact, even though most of the research is saying that the educational process is fostering entrepreneurial education. It is also supported by our results. So, but still there are some doubts or limits on that coming out from different other researches. In our particular research, we were able to support most of our hypotheses, and in general, what is the most important, the two basic hypotheses, but some sub-hypotheses were not supported. For example, the comparison of results in control group versus in experimental group versus control group didn't show the statistical difference in growing amount of knowledge provided to the students. Well, it turned out that it was quite similar what they respond about the increase in entrepreneurial knowledge, whether you have the classical style of lecturing or versus use of the digital tool. Yeah? So leaving still some floor for discussion of the effectiveness of such a tool, not for all the components of outcomes are always positive, but in general the most important hypothesis related to intention entrepreneurial intention of students in Generation Z turned out to be positive both in absolute terms and also in relative terms if you compare with the control groups. So basically that's it. The most important outcomes from our study are here. Thank you for listening. And,